ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says his party is at its weakest since the dawn of democracy, adding that corruption, maladministration and state capture are all dividing and fracturing the ANC. The country's economic trajectory is expected to be high on the agenda at this 6th Policy Conference, with Eskom's woes expected to dominate the discussions.
The ANC must address patriarchal attitudes and practices within its structures.
Eskom is at the top of the agenda at the ANC's Policy Conference. President Cyril Ramaphosa's proposal of a just transition from coal to renewable energy has been met with resistance by the unions and party members in Mpumalanga, South Africa's coal belt. The failure of Eskom to ensure energy security has also negatively affected the economy.
As we continue to implement the plan, we have seen signs of recovery in the economy, although currently we see some setbacks that have come in. The growth experience in recent quarters has brought the economy to pre-pandemic levels much sooner than analysts had expected. The most recent figures show that the number of unemployed people in our country has dropped slightly, although not sufficiently as to be able for us to say the needle has moved. As we meet here, we need to recognize that our recovery, the green shoots that we may well be seeing, remain fragile. And we should expect that growth and employment will be affected by the global instability, the rising fuel and food costs, and the recent load shedding as well, which is going to have a massively negative impact.
Over 18 million South Africans receive social grants. The ANC and the government have now proposed a basic income grant, which has been supported by the private sector. Ramaphosa says this grant will assist in eliminating the triple challenges of poverty, inequality and underdevelopment.
Some have said that we've become a welfare state. Yes, there are proposals for a basic income grant, which will broaden the social grant system. This is the conference that needs to look very closely at that. And we need to ask ourselves about the extent to which we can ensure that our people, particularly the poor and those who continue to be unemployed, can be cared for by the state. But we also need to look at the resources that we will need to support that policy intervention.
The party's electoral fortunes have dwindled, with the prospect of losing outright majority looming in 2024.
The ANC today is at its weakest and most vulnerable since the advent of democracy. Our weaknesses are evident in the distrust, the disillusionment, the frustration that is expressed by many people towards our movement and our government. They are reflected in our support in the last local government elections, where for the first time we fell below 50% of the national vote. Our weaknesses are reflected in many of our branches, which are not involved in the lives of our communities, but are activated only for the purpose of electing delegates for conferences or nominating candidates for public office. Our weaknesses are evident in the distance between our public representatives and the people that they are meant to serve. Perhaps most striking, our weaknesses are evident in the divisions within our ranks. We are a divided movement.
ANC ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says the issue of renewable energy and the energy crisis that the country is facing with power utility Eskom needs to be rectified by this year's policy conference of the governing party. Energy is a critical crisis that the nation is failing, which could affect the economic trajectory and the economic recovery of the country. Issues pertaining to Eskom and a new company to compete with the power utility is also at the top of the agenda. Some provinces such as Limpopo and KwaZulu-Natal want internal issues of the ANC such as the step-aside resolution to be totally scrapped, whilst other provinces want it to remain intact. But all in all, the ANC wants this policy conference to turn around the party's electoral fortunes. Samkele Masego, SABC News, Johannesburg.